They lied to you. WWE lied to every single one of you watching right now. They told you the Shield was dead. They buried it. They celebrated its grave. They let Roman Reigns go into the Bloodline saga and act like the Shield never mattered. They let Seth Rollins reinvent himself a dozen times, jumping from faction to faction like nothing ever happened. And Dean Ambrose, the man they repackaged, stripped of his identity, and shoved out the door, they acted like he never existed. Like he was a footnote. Like he was the forgettable one. But here we go. Because the Moxley, the man behind the mask, has just blown the roof off the entire WWE universe, and if you are not screaming at your screen right now, then you are not paying attention. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and the returning masked man himself reunited. The new Shield is real, and they are coming for everything. Comment right now, did you see this coming? Because I promise you, by the end of this video, your entire view of WWE's future will be completely, permanently destroyed and rebuilt. Segment 1: The betrayal nobody talks about. Let's go back. Let's really go back, because to understand why this reunion is so dangerous, you have to understand the wound that started it all. When the Shield originally broke apart, it wasn't clean. It wasn't mutual. It was Seth Rollins' golden-haired, calculated, opportunistic Seth Rollins who drove that steel chair into the backs of Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose in 2014. He stood there in that ring, Triple H's arm around his shoulder, and he smiled. He smiled while his brothers bled on the canvas. That image burned itself into the memories of every Shield fan alive. And what did it do to Dean Ambrose? It hollowed him out. He spent years chasing Rollins, years chasing Roman, years trying to find a reason to trust again. And when they finally reunited in 2018, when that music hit and the three of them stood side by side again, the whole world lost its mind. But even then, something was off. Ambrose never fully came back. He was fractured. And then he left. He put on the mask. He became Jon Moxley. He went to AEW and he rebuilt himself from the ground up into something more dangerous, more unhinged, more real than Dean Ambrose ever was. So ask yourself, why would a man who rebuilt his entire identity outside of WWE, who said publicly he felt creatively free for the first time in years, why would he come back? Why now? Why Roman? Why Seth? The answer is terrifying. Segment 2: The Vision. Who are they? Why they must be destroyed. Now let's talk about the Vision, because that's the target. That's the group standing in the crosshairs of the most dangerous trio WWE has assembled in a generation. The Vision came together quietly, methodically, the way all truly dangerous factions do. No pyro. No announcement. Just a slow, deliberate accumulation of power. They position themselves as the future, the intellectual evolution of WWE's main event scene. Clean image. Controlled promos. Corporate friendly. The kind of faction that Vince McMahon's old regime would have loved. And that's exactly the problem. The Vision represents everything that the Shield was built to destroy. Manufactured. Political. Safe. They don't bleed for the business, they manage it. They don't fight because they have something to prove, they fight because it's scheduled. They are performance without passion. And in a world where Roman Reigns has lived through betrayal, exile, and resurrection, where Seth Rollins has burned every bridge and rebuilt them just to burn them again, and where the masked man has bled in every arena on the planet just to feel something real, the Vision is an insult. Roman sees them and sees everything he fought against inside the bloodline. Political maneuvering. False loyalty. Smiling faces hiding knives. Seth sees them and sees a mirror of who he used to be. And he hates it. And the masked man? He sees them, and he sees WWE's comfort zone. He sees corporate safety. He sees the machine that chewed him up and spat him out. And he has come back not just to fight but to burn it down. Segment 3: The Reunion Breakdown. What actually happened? Now let's break down exactly how this reunion went down, because the details matter. It started with Roman. After everything with the bloodline, after Solo Sikoa's power grab, after the Usos' complicated loyalties, after Paul Heyman's shifting allegiances, Roman Reigns found himself at a crossroads. For the first time in years, he was not surrounded by family. He was not protected by numbers. He was alone, and the wolves were circling. Seth Rollins had his own problems. The Vision had been systematically targeting him not because he was weak, but because he was loud. Seth is the kind of man you cannot ignore. He demands attention. He demands reaction. And the Vision had decided that taking down Seth Rollins publicly, humiliatingly, repeatedly, was the fastest path to legitimacy. They were using him as a stepping stone. Two men, both isolated, both under siege. And then the lights went out. That music. That slow, deliberate, march-like entrance music that nobody had heard in years, not here, not on this stage, hit the speakers. And the arena went from confused to electric in about 4 seconds. The masked man walked through that curtain and the pop was deafening. But he didn't rush. He didn't sprint to the ring. He walked. Deliberate. Focused. Every step carrying the weight of every match he'd fought in every building that wasn't this one. He got in that ring. He looked at Roman. He looked at Seth. Nobody said a word. And then the vision came out. 4 members deep, smug, confident, expecting to finish what they started. Expecting 2 isolated men. Instead they found 3. And not just any 3, the 3. The original 3. The group that redefined what a faction could be in WWE. What happened next was not a match. It was not a segment. It was a statement. Roman, Seth, and the Masked Man disassembled the vision like a machine taking apart a toy. Efficient. Brutal. Coordinated in the way only people who have bled together can be. Roman's spear. Seth's curb stomp. The Masked Man's dirty deeds. 1, 2, 3, over and over. Until the vision was not standing. Until the vision was not talking. Until the vision lay scattered across that ring like the wreckage they deserved to be. The new Shield stood in that ring, and for one moment, one suspended, electric, perfect moment, they raised their fists in the air. Not as a performance. As a declaration. Segment 4: Why this changes everything. Here's what I need you to understand, and I need you to really sit with this. This is not nostalgia. WWE is not banking on your memories of 2012 and 2013. This is not a greatest hits tour. This new Shield is built on something different, something darker and more complicated than the original ever was. The original Shield had unity through code, through brotherhood, through a shared philosophy of justice, twisted and violent justice, sure, but consistent. They believed in each other fully and completely, right up until the moment Seth didn't. This new Shield? These 3 men have all betrayed each other, been betrayed by each other, walked away from each other, and chosen to come back anyway. That's not innocence. That's not brotherhood born of rookies finding their footing. That is 3 wolves who have been through war separately and together and decided that the only way to survive the next war is to be in the same pack again. Roman Reigns is no longer the big dog learning to lead. He is the tribal chief who walked through hell in the bloodline and emerged harder. He does not trust easily. He does not forgive quickly. His decision to stand with the Masked Man again is not sentimental, it is strategic, and it is earned. Seth Rollins is no longer the authority's golden boy desperate to prove himself. He has main event WrestleManias. He has been world champion multiple times. He has reinvented his look, his style, his entire persona more times than anyone in this company. And yet, standing with these 2 men in that ring, for the first time in years he looked like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. And the Masked Man, Jon Moxley. The man who left WWE, conquered the independent scene, rebuilt his name in AEW, won championships across the globe and then came back. He came back not because he had to, not because WWE was the only option. He came back because he chose to, and that makes him the most dangerous man in this equation. He cannot be managed. He cannot be controlled. He has nothing to prove and everything to destroy. The Vision thought they were building an empire. They were actually building a target. Segment 5: The future. Where does this go? So where does the new Shield go from here? Let's talk about the road ahead, because this story is just getting started. First, the Vision is not done. Embarrassing a faction doesn't eliminate them, it radicalizes them. Expect the Vision to regroup, to recruit, possibly to bring in a surprise member that escalates this feud to a level nobody is ready for. Rumor is, they are not going to take this lying down, and they have resources both in terms of roster relationships and backstage political capital that the new Shield will need to neutralize quickly. Second, internal tension is inevitable, and it's going to be delicious. How long before the old fractures resurface? How long before Seth looks at Roman and sees everything he destroyed? How long before Roman looks at the Masked Man and wonders whether this is the same man who almost cost him everything? That tension is not a weakness in the story, it is the story. The best faction storylines are the ones where the destruction comes from within, and nobody in wrestling history has more fuel for internal destruction than these 3 men. Third, and this is the one that has me most excited, the championship picture. With the new Shield operating as a unified force, every title on the Raw and SmackDown rosters is within reach. Roman has already established himself as the greatest world champion of his generation. Seth has the IC title history and the main event credibility. And the Masked Man can wrestle any style, on any show, against any opponent, and deliver something extraordinary. If they decide to collect gold, and they will, there is not a champion currently holding a title who is safe. Finally, WrestleMania is on the horizon. And the question isn't whether the new Shield will be part of the biggest show of the year. The question is whether the Vision will survive long enough to get there, or whether the new Shield dismantles them so completely that WWE has to build an entirely new obstacle to stand in their way. My prediction? WrestleMania ends with all 3 men standing tall, but not before one of them nearly costs the others everything. The drama is coming. The betrayal or the near betrayal is coming, and it is going to be one of the greatest chapters in Shield history. Closing call to action. If you are not hyped right now, I don't know what to tell you. This is the moment. This is the faction. This is the reunion that WWE has been building toward, whether they knew it or not, and it is here. Drop a comment right now. Are you riding with the new Shield, or do you think the Vision can actually survive this? Are you worried about internal tension tearing this apart before it reaches its peak? And most importantly, who do you think the Vision is going to bring in to try and counter the most dangerous trio in WWE history? Share this video with every wrestling fan you know. If this doesn't blow their mind, nothing will. Hit that like button. Subscribe to Ring Rumble 1 if you haven't already, because I promise you, we are going to cover every single chapter of this story as it unfolds, and you do not want to miss a second of it. The Shield is back. The new Shield is real, and WWE will never ever be the same. Fist up. Let's go.